Have you ever met someone who can command a room without raising their voice? A person who seems to bend others to their will, not through force, but through subtle words and actions that go almost unnoticed. These individuals are masters of a hidden world. They understand the unspoken rules of human interaction. They see the levers of motivation, fear, and desire that exist within all of us. Their influence is quiet, almost invisible, yet its effects are profoundly real. They are the unseen puppeteers, pulling the strings of those around them, often leaving their targets completely unaware that they are being guided. This power is not magic. It is a deep, instinctual grasp of human psychology in its rawest form. This ability to shape thoughts and steer actions is the core of dark psychology. It is not merely a collection of theories found in dusty textbooks. It is a living, breathing skill set focused on the art of influence, manipulation, and control. It delves into the parts of the human mind we often prefer to ignore: our insecurities, our hidden desires, our deep-seated need for validation and belonging. Dark psychology explores these vulnerabilities not to heal them, but to exploit them. It is a study of human nature stripped of its polite social masks, revealing the primal drives that truly govern our behaviors when we think no one is watching. The term dark is not used for dramatic effect. It refers to the nature of these tactics. They operate in the shadows of our awareness. They are covert, deceptive, and often self-serving. This brand of psychology is dark because it acknowledges an uncomfortable truth. The most effective forms of control are those the victim never recognizes. It is the subtle suggestion that plants a seed of doubt, the carefully worded compliment that creates dependency, or the manufactured crisis that makes a manipulator seem like a savior. These methods prey on our trust and our fundamental cognitive biases, turning our own minds against us. Understanding this domain is crucial, not to become a manipulator, but to recognize one. The world is a grand stage, and not all actors have our best interests at heart. People who master these skills can navigate social landscapes with unnerving precision. They can build empires, win followers, or simply dismantle a person's confidence for their own gain. To remain blind to these strategies is to leave yourself exposed. It is to walk onto the stage without knowing the script, making you an easy pawn in someone else's play. The first step toward empowerment is pulling back the curtain and seeing these unseen puppeteers for what they are. Dark psychology is a sophisticated blend of art and science. On one hand, it is a science because it is built upon established psychological principles. It studies cognitive biases, conditioned responses, and neurological triggers with cold, analytical precision. A practitioner understands how dopamine rewards shape behavior, how fear activates the amygdala, and how social proof can make people conform to a group consensus without question. They learn the mechanics of the human mind like an engineer learns the mechanics of an engine. This scientific foundation provides a reliable blueprint for predicting and directing human action, making manipulation a repeatable and often predictable process. However, the application of these principles is a true art form. Science can tell you that isolation increases suggestibility, but art is knowing precisely how to engineer that isolation. It is the skill of weaving a narrative that makes someone willingly cut ties with their support system. It is the charisma that makes a lie sound more believable than the truth. This artistry involves timing, intuition, and an actor's ability to read and mirror emotions. A master of dark psychology can tailor their approach to each individual, sensing their deepest insecurities and desires without a single word being spoken. This intuitive, adaptive quality elevates manipulation from a simple technique to a dark, creative expression. Think of it as the difference between knowing the notes on a piano and being able to compose a symphony. Many people can learn the basic scientific theories of influence, like scarcity or authority. But the true artist of dark psychology composes a symphony of control, where each technique is a single note in a much larger, more complex piece. They layer different methods, knowing when to apply pressure and when to release it. They create an emotional landscape for their target, guiding them through feelings of confusion, hope, fear, and relief, all while maintaining a position of power. This orchestration is fluid and dynamic, a dance of power that is as creative as it is calculated. This duality is what makes dark psychology so potent and so dangerous. Its scientific underpinnings give it a foundation of effectiveness, while its artistic application makes it incredibly difficult to detect. It is not a rigid set of rules but a flexible and adaptive strategy. The practitioner is both a scientist in their laboratory and a performer on a stage. They are constantly observing, experimenting, and refining their methods. By understanding that dark psychology is both a structured science and a nuanced art, we begin to appreciate the true complexity of the forces we are up against, and the level of awareness required to defend against them. The principles of dark psychology are not confined to ancient texts or secret societies. They are woven into the very fabric of our daily lives. History is filled with leaders who rose to power not just through force, but through the masterful manipulation of their people's emotions. They understood how to create a common enemy to unify a nation, how to use powerful symbols to inspire unwavering loyalty, and how to craft a narrative of destiny that made their rule seem inevitable. These figures were not merely politicians, they were grand-scale psychologists who used the hopes and fears of millions as instruments for their ambition, demonstrating how these tactics can shape the course of history. The media and advertising industries are modern arenas where dark psychology thrives. Every commercial you watch, every news headline you read, is often carefully engineered to trigger a specific emotional response. Marketers use the principle of scarcity to create a false sense of urgency, making you feel you must buy now or miss out forever. News outlets use emotionally charged language and imagery to capture your attention and shape your perception of events. They create narratives that simplify complex issues into good versus evil, hero versus villain. This constant bombardment conditions our responses and subtly influences our decisions, from what we buy to what we believe. On a more personal level, dark psychology is the poison that fuels toxic relationships. It is the partner who uses gaslighting to make you question your own sanity, constantly denying events you know happened until you begin to doubt your memory. It is the friend who uses guilt to control your actions, making you feel perpetually indebted to them. In these dynamics, love and affection are used as tools for control. The manipulator isolates their victim from friends and family, chipping away at their self-esteem until they become completely dependent. These intimate betrayals are some of the most damaging applications of dark psychology, leaving deep emotional scars that can last a lifetime. Cults represent one of the most extreme and organized forms of dark psychology. Cult leaders are masters of mind control. They employ a systematic process of breaking down an individual's identity and rebuilding it in service to the group. This is achieved through love bombing, where new recruits are showered with affection to create a powerful sense of belonging. This is followed by isolation from the outside world, sleep deprivation, and repetitive indoctrination. By controlling the person's information and environment, the cult leader replaces their critical thinking with unquestioning belief. These examples, from global stages to private homes, show that dark psychology is a pervasive force we must all learn to recognize. To defend against a threat, you must first understand its weapons. The practitioners of dark psychology have a well-stocked toolkit, filled with instruments designed to dismantle a person's will. The most fundamental of these is manipulation itself. This is the art of skillfully influencing someone for your own advantage, often in an unfair or deceptive way. It's not about direct commands, but about creating situations where the target willingly chooses the path the manipulator desires. This can be as simple as a carefully phrased question that plants a seed of doubt, or as complex as a long-term strategy to gain someone's trust before exploiting it. Manipulation is the overarching framework for all other tools. Deception is another cornerstone of the manipulator's arsenal. This goes beyond simple lying. It involves the strategic withholding of information, the presentation of half-truths, and the creation of false narratives to mislead a target. A skilled deceiver can construct a version of reality that is so convincing, it becomes easier for the victim to believe the lie than to confront the complex truth. They may omit crucial details from a story to change its meaning or feign emotions they do not feel to elicit a desired reaction. Deception is about controlling the flow of information, ensuring that the target only sees the picture the manipulator wants them to see, making them a pawn in a game they do not even know they are playing. Gaslighting is perhaps one of the most insidious tools. Its goal is to systematically erode a person's perception of reality, making them question their own memory, judgment, and sanity. A gaslighter will vehemently deny saying or doing things that their victim clearly remembers. They will dismiss their target's feelings as an overreaction, or claim they are too sensitive. Over time, the constant invalidation makes the victim feel confused, anxious, and unstable. They begin to distrust their own mind and become more dependent on the manipulator as their source of truth. Gaslighting is a vicious form of psychological abuse designed to achieve total control over another person's reality. Finally, we have persuasion and mind control, which represent the deeper levels of influence. Persuasion in this context is not a healthy debate. It is the use of emotional appeals, logical fallacies, and social pressure to bypass critical thinking and win compliance. Mind control is the most extreme form, aiming to fundamentally alter a person's core beliefs, identity, and values. This is often achieved through a combination of isolation, repetition, and the manipulation of fear and desire. These tools, from subtle manipulation to overt mind control, are the weapons used to break down a person's defenses. Recognizing them is the first step in rendering them powerless. Learning about the shadowy world of dark psychology is not an invitation to use these tactics yourself. Instead, it is the most essential step you can take to protect your own mind. To remain ignorant of these strategies is to leave yourself vulnerable, an easy target for those who would exploit your trust and goodwill. Awareness is your first and most powerful line of defense. When you understand the mechanics of manipulation, deception, and gaslighting, you can begin to recognize their patterns in your daily interactions. You start to notice the subtle signs, the friend who always uses guilt to get their way, the advertisement creating a false sense of urgency, or the leader who scapegoats an enemy to rally support. This knowledge acts as a shield. It allows you to create a healthy psychological distance between a manipulator's words and your own emotional response. When someone tries to gaslight you, you can identify the tactic for what it is, an attempt to distort your reality, rather than internalizing the doubt they are trying to plant. When you are faced with a high-pressure sales pitch, you can see the scarcity and authority principles at play and make a decision based on logic, not manufactured emotion. This understanding empowers you to pause, analyze the situation objectively, and reclaim control over your own choices. It turns you from a passive recipient of influence into an active guardian of your own mind. Ultimately, dark psychology is neither inherently good nor evil. It is a body of knowledge, a set of tools that describe the hidden mechanics of human influence. Like fire, its impact depends entirely on the intention of the user. In the hands of a therapist, an understanding of these deep psychological drivers can be used to help a patient overcome trauma and break free from destructive patterns. In the hands of a tyrant or a con artist, the same knowledge can be used to dominate and destroy. The power itself is neutral. It is the application that defines its moral character. Our responsibility is not to fear this knowledge but to understand it. Therefore, the message is clear. You must arm yourself with this understanding not to harm others but to safeguard your own mental sovereignty. In a world saturated with attempts to influence our thoughts, emotions, and decisions, ignorance is not bliss, it is a liability. By exploring the depths of dark psychology, you are not venturing into darkness for its own sake. You are turning on a light. You are learning to see the strings before they are pulled, to recognize the game before you become a pawn, and to protect the most valuable territory you will ever own, your own mind.